Are you a business owner stuck in fear, doubt, and worry about what the marketplace will look like in the future? Then this show is for you. Strap on your seatbelt and get ready to disrupt and innovate. Here's your host, Lisa Levy.
Today on Disrupt and Innovate, I am thrilled to welcome Bonnie Schutz. She's the founder and CEO of Tandem Resource Solutions and the host of the Delegate to Elevate podcast. After 27 years in corporate leadership support, including nearly 2 decades at the C-suite level, Bonnie is on a mission to prove that delegation is not a luxury. It's a critical leadership skill. Through her boutique recruiting firm and virtual assistant agency, she helps founders and professional service providers stop carrying it all alone. Bonnie is a fierce advocate for creating meaningful, flexible work for military spouses, single parents, and women in their second act. Get ready to learn how to lead better by delegating smarter. Bonnie, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Thanks for having me.
I am so excited to have this conversation with you. I love what you're doing, but can we talk about the work that you're doing today and why it's so important now?
So, I help founders and service providers, trying to be that one person juggler circus, to actually get the support they need. The way we work has changed and, many leaders are still running their businesses like it's like 1997, doing every inbox and every calendar, every little task themselves. But, my work makes it normal, doesn't give them any guilt to just delegate, so that they can protect their health, their families, their pocketbooks, their freedom, and not have to do it all at the same time.
I love protect their freedom. That means something probably a little bit different to everyone. From your perspective, what's the freedom mean to you?
Yeah. So the freedom is in being an entrepreneur, the reason I became one, the freedom to step away, take a vacation, be with my family, be sick in bed instead of guilt tripping myself into running this business and feeling like I still have to work. So knowing that I have the support system and a team behind me that I've delegated to, my business doesn't crumble if Bonnie steps away for a day.
And that's a big step for entrepreneurs, solopreneurs to trust others. With your approach, how do you make that transition comfortable and natural?
Yeah. So trust obviously is earned. It's not just given. And so it's through like many, many of the C's. So like clarity and communication and things like that. It's like being very specific about your needs of this person you're delegating or outsourcing parts of your business to. It's that mirroring things back, like how did you hear me? It's all about communication. And it's funny, I often say that I should have been a communications major because I have a lot of conversations and communications about communications. It's like over communicate in this remote world. And then you can build trust and like it's not going to be fast. And you just have to know that it's something that'll come or not come, but use your instinct, use those social skills that I'm sure every entrepreneur has to just, have that emotional intelligence to see if you can build it. Trust, but verify.
Trust but verify. Wise words that have stood the test of
Yeah.
time.
Yep. Thanks to my husband. He reminds me of that all the time. Because I'm way too trustworthy.
Kind of a flip to that I've used for a long time. Sometimes I'm disappointed but not surprised.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Mic drop.
Right? It's like, okay, yeah, it's exactly what I thought was going to happen, but all right. So
Yeah,
you
exactly.
pick up and you move on.
Oh, amen, sister.
Yeah.
I can relate to that.
Some days you just kind of have to go there. It's like, okay,
Yep.
wish you'd made better choices, but since you haven't,
Yeah.
here you go. We're
I
off and
have my
running.
little Elsa doll here. It's like, let it go.
I think everybody needs that somewhere in their line of sight. I think it's
Yep.
much more psychologically healthy than but behind my line of sight. Years ago, my kids gave me a Louisville Slugger, a big old baseball bat
Nice.
that's hanging
Nice.
on the wall, just kind of there to remind me that I don't take anything from anybody. But it's there and it's in my line of sight. I think Elsa might be a little bit healthier.
I ran into that Carrie Underwood. I don't know why I go into song. I just break into song. I do the Louisville Slugger to both headlights.
It's absolutely. You got how they think of me, right?
Right? I love it. I was getting such an image in my head. That's awesome.
Music is so incredibly powerful.
It is.
As we think about leadership, I'm all about disrupting the status quo to make a positive impact. for entrepreneurs and for those who are learning how to delegate to elevate in their world, how is that a positive disruption? What does that mean for them from a leadership perspective?
Yeah. In my world, disruptive leadership looks like finally valuing people behind the scenes as much as like the people on the stage, like you and I. And so that's a little bit of a disruption because they're not always valued or held up and given thanks for what they do behind the scenes. So I'm thinking that a better leader is not doing everything to me, and backing that up by hiring and like trusting administrative professionals, virtual staff, marketing agencies, things like that that you don't have to do yourself. And that's where I think you're a better leader and just being able to introspectively look at it like I'm not good at that. Somebody else is, and I'm going to take that off my plate.
And that perspective is so powerful. I was sitting in a mastermind last week, and one of the gentlemen who was talking about the things that he does, and it was for his podcast. And he talks about and I do this and this and this and this. And he goes down all the list of all of the things and it is a broadcast television quality recording, right? They are in studio. This is big deal. But it isn't that I in his conversation is 10 or 20 people. Is right. It's really a we, but he
Right.
makes it sound like we all should be doing things that way. And it is a really fabulously wonderful to acknowledge that there are people behind the scenes that make the magic happen. And I
Yes.
love valuing and talking about that as being disruptive because as we're growing and scaling, we cannot do everything. That does not scale. That leads to
Yeah.
burnout, to breakdowns, to all sorts of things. So the disruption that you're driving is saying, my words, I have
Yeah.
capacity
Yes.
and it is finite. I can delegate things away so I can add other things in and pick and choose what it is, but I only have a finite amount of capacity and I
Yeah.
don't scale beyond that as a leader. So you are
Exactly.
definitely opening up the conversation to say, tag somebody in, coach, help is needed.
Yes. Yes. I like that. Tag me in, coach, for
Tag me
sure.
in, coach, or in my case, I would be more like tag me out, coach. I need the help.
I was just thinking in my head how I was picturing I'm very visual and I'm picturing the cup and I'm filling the cup or in taking things out of it by giving things to other people, but I don't have to refill it. That's that freedom piece again. I don't have to refill it. It's all getting covered. That the things we're taking out of it are still being covered. So I like to think of it as me guilty. Yes, I have refilled, but because I talk about it so much, it makes me like, well, you talk to yourself a little bit there, Ron. You don't have to fill up that white space on your calendar. Take it to breathe.
Well, take
Take
it
a
to
step
breathe.
back. Yeah.
Yes, we certainly need that, but also one of the things I think that we forget that is so important is time to think, time to do nothing and just let the wheels inside of our brain turn,
Yes, exactly.
and it's not lazy, it's actually some of the most productive time. So, my symptom of not doing enough of that, right? My brain turns on at 2 a.m. and I sit up in bed and I go and there's this list of stuff, and it's like, "Okay, I need to make time, make space for that." So, again, delegating the 20 things I know I shouldn't be doing off is a really important step in that path to having the freedom to think, to pause, to do all of the things that we've talked about. Will you talk about your decision to leave corporate and how that changed your path, what that looked like and what it felt like for you?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So it was almost 3 decades, 27 years in corporate for me as an executive assistant. And when I decided just to have this my stars aligned and I just thought, I need to leave this. I need to do something, build a company of my own. Like I was like the Gemini that I am. Half of me is like, sister, you are so out of your league. You can't run a business. And the other half is like, F these other people over here. I need to get out of this. And so I wanted to build a company that I would have wanted to work for. And so I was in the driver's seat of that. And that was something that really appealed to me. And then I wanted to, instead of playing it safe and staying the loyal EA behind someone else's desk, or whatever it is, I wanted to become the CEO of what was going to be a recruiting firm, recruiting people that I'd always been. So, like, what better person to recruit people into roles that I had been? But then, the evolution came where I added other silos to my business. And it's like, boom, and then being the one at the helm is just, it's difficult. The imposter syndrome jumps in quite often. But, over the years, I'm now like 9 years in this year. It has made such a huge impact on my life. And, just talking to people like yourself about all the things that we've done to make changes and take things off our plate and give ourselves back some freedom. That was one of the big things I wanted that I didn't have in my corporate career. And so obviously having the freedom, I took a 1 month sabbatical recently. Never have I ever, being able to do things like that have completely enhanced my life. I love to travel. Um, that's kind of the difference it's made in being and able to do my own thing.
Stepping away from corporate is always, it's a big step because the change is so, you go from day to night or night to day. It's 180 degrees in the opposite direction of what people know.
Right.
What
Yeah.
was the catalyst, right? What was that passion? What was that defining moment that said, I have to do this and this is the impact I'm going to make?
Wow. So it was after so many years, it just hit me like I ran into a wall in the corporate office that I was in, and things were coming at me from every direction that were out of my control. I needed control back, which is sometimes looked at as a bad thing, but it's more control over me and my life. And I think just having that realization at that moment, it was just like a total epiphany, like, the sky opened. And it literally did to me. It felt like, so that it just gave me this feeling like you've done too much of this. It's time for something new. And, there's something to be said for, other greener pastures. They can be real. They're not always, but, I definitely found the greener pasture. Is it fun all the time being an entrepreneur? No, not so much, but it's given me what I wanted. So that's the good part. Excuse me, I always have to lean into what it has given me and stuff. Like your little analogy that you made earlier. What was it again?
What, the disappointed but not surprised?
Yes. Yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, that has hit me a lot as an entrepreneur. So it's not been all roses, but it's definitely done what I expected it would do for me.
Let's talk a little bit about the entrepreneurial journey because 9 years in is a
Mhm.
huge success, right? The
Thank you.
majority of new businesses don't survive the first year, and those that do don't survive past year 5.
Right.
So if people aren't celebrating 9 years with you, they should be because it's
Thank you.
huge.
Thank you.
It is
I feel
absolutely,
like it.
it is, and it needs to be acknowledged in that. So when you made the choice, how did you do it? How did you start the business? How did you
Yeah.
grow? How did it
Okay.
scale? What
You
are some
bet.
of the roadblocks? Take us on the
Yes.
journey.
Ooh, I love the roadblock journey. um, no, I had a lot. I mentioned before I had a lot of imposter syndrome. I was just a secretary. And so I left after 2 years of doing it as a side hustle, sneaking into conference rooms in my old job, doing the side hustle until I started to learn that fantabulous is one of my words idea of networking. I never had to network as an EA in corporate. I didn't have to do that kind of thing. So I had networked with old bosses and found out that if I wanted to make this happen, I had to give it 100%. And so again, my stars aligned and I was able to do that. I was married and he had my insurance and my kids, I was an empty nester. It was perfect timing for me. And so I left my job after getting all that great advice. I left, with a month's notice. I gave much respect to my last boss. And um, so I started becoming a recruiter because I was recruiting for admins. I'd been in every admin role in the world. And so I thought this was going to be easy. Well, I had a partner who was the recruiter from that last company as well. And so um, she and I had started and been great. But the roadblock that happened was when she and I realized we had to sell. We had to find clients. Oops, they're not going to just fall in our laps. And neither one of us were salespeople. And she had been a corporate recruiter where somebody else was finding clients, right? And so that was a huge roadblock. That's when I had to get out of my comfort zone and start to do that networking thing and get out there and sell. I don't like to really use this market. Let's say market the business. That's not something I was used to doing. But it was so fulfilling because I found a new side of me in the networking world. I was always a people person until I've been home now for 9 years and turned to the what is it, the introverted extrovert that I am now. COVID did that to me probably. But yeah, that was then. Speaking of COVID happened. We had added the virtual assistants to the company when that just kind of organically happened because it was a thing and I needed to make some money in between recruitments. And so I became a VA, and I even had this idea in my head that VAs were just a call center in the Philippines. I had no idea till I answered a Craigslist ad and became a VA. And because that way I could lean back into the skill set that I had working in corporate. So it was great. But when I did, and I put it out on like my LinkedIn, when I added the VA service, was just me, put it out there, my virtual walls just fell over. All my old colleagues had never had the opportunity to work from home as executive assistants. You have to
Be
be
there.
that person right there for your C-level exec. And so they're like, I want to work for you. I want to work from home. And this is all pre-COVID. And so I was like, oh, I can have an agency. Cool. Okay. I can have these people support my clients, and I could take that little snip for my admin work behind the scenes, and cool. I could do my recruiting. And so it evolved into that, the recruiting silo and the virtual assistance agency. And then during the bid, the VA agency side just burst because of so many people, one, becoming VAs. And so I had, like great options out there to join my team. But then everybody moving into home, virtual assistants became way more prevalent in the world. So, I felt the up and downs. It's just something that I've had to learn from. It's lessons learned. It's so many lessons learned. That's such a cliche, but there's lots of lessons to learn, and I've learned them as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're not repeating, right? You've learned the lesson, you moved on, you apply new things, right? Some people
Yes.
get stuck in a loop along the way, and COVID was something that got a lot of people stuck. For you, it
Yeah.
was a growth opportunity, and my business was very busy during the pandemic, which, so it's, that balancing act people have, it was very interesting and all of that. And yes, entrepreneurship is a story of ups and downs.
Roller coaster ride. My hands are in the air.
Absolutely, absolutely, totally a roller coaster ride. But the fun part about this is it's your roller coaster, not somebody
Yeah.
else's.
Yes.
And
Exactly.
that's the true pure joy of all of this.
Mhm.
So if you had the opportunity to talk to yourself 9 plus years ago, what advice would you give yourself before going down this path?
Yeah. Really never burn bridges. Like keep those connections you never thought you would speak to again in your life. And this is that whole lead into that network thing again, because my network is truly my net worth, as they say. I hate all these little one-liners, but it's so true. And back then, 9 years ago, I didn't realize how much I would need my network and I would need to grow it. So I would tell that person now, grow it and don't burn those bridges.
Yeah, I totally agree that our networks make or break our businesses. I am not as nice of a person as you are, and I
Aw,
still believe that there are moments in time when you have to burn the boat, burn the bridges, because that
yeah,
individual might destroy the network, right? But
that's
you are a kinder, nicer person than I am. I hold the burn the boat, burn the bridges option. I
in
really
your
put
pocket,
once.
right? Okay, I will admit there are a couple bridges that I burned when I finally just said, "I don't need this in my life," and that's something I had to learn. That's not something I walked out of corporate knowing and having the ability to do. It was like nice Bonnie was like, "Oh, I can make it work." But that was one of those lessons. I can't be nice Bonnie all the time, and so you're right. I don't burn bridges with my network per se, but maybe somebody who's ever put a little monkey wrench in my business, I might burn.
First time I fired a client would be an example of my
Yeah,
and that was so empowering.
it was. Yeah.
Have you done it?
I have. It is very empowering. It's scary as hell, but when you do it a couple times, by that second, third, fourth time, whatever time it is, it gets so much easier. You just have to say, "Let it go."
Back to Elsa. We're gonna let it go.
Yes, that's what I'm like, I love Elsa. She's my soul animal, spirit animal.
Elsa is spirit animal. So, entrepreneurs firing clients is really it becomes your conditions of satisfaction. There are lines that you won't cross, and knowing when you have those and protecting yourself, your team, not all clients are good clients, and that's okay.
That's right, yep.
And the
It's
sooner
just
you
like
get rid of the bad.
matching people with my team. Like, maybe that's not a good match, and it's not gonna work out, it's like, let it go, and you can move on. There's
And
lots of people in this world.
There are lots of people. Part of the fear of, and I don't know how I go down these paths, Bonnie, but sometimes we get to them. When you're
Sure.
saying a client is not a good fit, right? There's probably an
Mhm.
underlying fear of what are they gonna say about me out in the world?
Yes.
And it ties to imposter syndrome, right? And we put all of these pieces together, but the bottom line is if you're firing your client, they probably know that they're not the best client and they are not going to be bad mouthing you behind your back because it really truly only reflects on them. So I think that their spin on the story would be very, very different than you would ever imagine. And again, protecting your team, your space is more important always. And
Yeah.
that it comes back to maintaining your freedom, right? Part of building your own
Yeah.
business is making those choices of what you're willing to do and those things that you're not willing to do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a
That is
really
so
nice
true.
balance in that space.
Mhm.
Bonnie, we're having a great conversation, but if what we're talking about piques the interest and curiosity from the audience, how do they learn more about you, about the business, and all of the different things that you're offering?
Yeah, me personally, they can find me on LinkedIn is probably the best place. It's like my online resume. It's Bonnie Schutz, Schutz. And they can go to my VA and admin recruiting website, tandemresourcesolutions.com. And they can find me on YouTube at Delegate to Elevate podcast, as well as that being the website for the podcast too, delegate to the number two, elevate podcast.com.
Absolutely fantastic. I love the conversation we've had today and talking about the entrepreneurial journey really being about freedom and the service offerings that you've built over the last 9 years and how you're helping entrepreneurs and leaders protect their freedom, learning how to delegate, to step away, take time for family, heaven forbid, to simply be sick. That they
Yeah.
have people around them now, maybe on a part-time in a virtual capacity who are helping them do the things that they need to not be doing. Building relationships that are based on open communication, over communicating so that you're clear, that you're mirroring back and building and earning that trust is the key principles inside of building the successful VA relationships. And really being able to value people behind the scenes and understand that for us to grow and scale our businesses, we cannot do it alone. And it does require a team of people. Bonnie, thank you so much for being here today. Audience members, you know my rules. Don't get left behind. Join me next time.
That's it for today's episode of Disrupt and Innovate.